knew that this lad was going places. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Steve, Colonel Steve, what does it start with?
The right foot stamp.
The right foot stamp. Excellent. Are we ready for our first opening act?
Yeah!
A true welcome for this guy. When we'll bring him down this aisle, he needs to know that you love him and you support him, and it's going to be great for him. So, ladies and gentlemen, start your clapping. Ladies and gentlemen,
well, this is fucking awkward, isn't it? For half an hour ago, Geordie Jeff said to me, "You nervous?" I was like, "No, you know me, I don't get nervous." He was like, "Yeah, can't the entire front row of this fucking gig sack you?" But as it turns out, not so much. Just invited up from the back. You can, but not any of the rest of you. Yeah, so I've been doing this for a couple of months, and sir, thank you very much for organising this and getting me to organise this and effectively shouting at everybody in the bar earlier. That was good. Yeah, so we've been doing this for a few months. Really, really good fun. Standing on the stage making people laugh is something I've been doing in my entire naval career, and it turns out it translates to civilians. Since the poster has come out, I've been asked two specific questions about my life choices. The first and foremost are, what the fuck are those shoes? So for those of you who've seen the poster, you've seen me point at them. My wife bought me these. As an SUI going to Dartmouth, she thought this would be a good well done. So for those of you who can't see it, that's the officer's crest right there. And the CL in the middle stands for Christian Louboutin. She was had the audacity to say you could wear these when you're at home in Belfast. I'm from a council estate in Belfast. Let people know how well you're doing. Like, I'm not quite sure it's a kneecapping offence, but I'm fairly sure someone would remove them from me and beat the shit out of me with them. And I call that lady Mum. Honest to God, I've only ever seen these shoes on like high-class actresses in porn movies. I didn't know these were a real thing. When she presented them, I said, "How much did they cost?" She was like, 600 quid. Yeah, I was so fucking angry. I didn't hear her say, "per shoe." The irony is that these are the most expensive fucking things I own, and they're a pair of MILF slippers. The second question that I got asked off that poster is, I screwed up all the comics, and then they zoomed in on one, and you'll not be surprised, as the female on the bill, and they said, "Oh, Hajar, she's quite pretty. Is she single?" And I really wanted just to come, so I lied and said yes. Hi, Hajar. You are very pretty. Oh, I just realised my wife's out at the back of the room. Fuck. You're a hypnotist, right? Babe, come and look at Stu's watch. When she gets up there, last 5 minutes, steak and blowjobs are a real thing. Steak and blowjob day. Just say it over and over again. Cheers, sir. Come on up. Now, it was weird in the lead up to this gig, people were asking me if I was nervous. And then a few people said, the comment about getting sacked and all that kind of stuff. And I talked to the boss about it, who gave me, I didn't know he was a hypnotist, and then gave me the weirdest, most specific threat that I've ever had in my life. So I go into his office, and he says, "If this doesn't go well, you're going to wake up every day for the rest of my tenure as your boss, thinking that you're in the RAF." I've been threatened in Belfast, and I've never been more frightened of a human being in my entire fucking life. I tell you, being in this country, when I first came here, you joined H. Smith's Rally, and I found out fantastic things that the people of this country knew about me that I didn't. Like, for example, every single person from Ireland is a raging alcoholic. I did not know that. I also didn't know we were thick as fuck. That was news to me. You've never had the fucking irony of a person from fucking Birmingham telling me that your accent sounds stupid. And I look around the room and the one act that is from Birmingham isn't in the fucking room. He's just walked out. Did that one for him. Oh God, I've lost myself now. But yeah, being Northern Irish, there's a few things that I didn't really figure out. Like when I figured out that every single one of us was called Paddy, that was a confusion moment for me. There's a Paddy in this room. Where is he? Paddy Holmes. And Paddy is actually called Paddy. So when I phoned home, I'm like, we're all called Paddy. What's going on? He was walking around thinking, in England, I'm famous. And Paddy came to a gig not long ago and he was like, go for a bit, fella. Say whatever you want. And I was like, okay. So I sent out that email, you know the one, give us some shit. And the first person that threw him under the bus is sitting on his right. And for those of you that don't know, that would be Sub-Lieutenant Harper, Paddy's wife. And the story she told me blew my mind. Now I'm going to ask two people. Are you married? Yes. Ever been engaged? Yeah, to her. How many times in your life have you accidentally been engaged? No. Same question, Darrell. No. Never. I could ask every bloke in this room, how many times have you accidentally been engaged? And I'm sure that every one of you would say, never. Apart from one. So it turns out, if you buy a bespoke Celtic ring for Christmas, and it turns up 6 weeks late, in and around February 14th, handed over without explanation, no preamble to that, that female will open that box and go, oh yes, Paddy, I would be delighted to. And at that moment you have a choice. Pretend that that's what you were doing, because you're a pussy, or tell the truth. So they were engaged for 6 months until they broke up. True story. I'm not even making that up. I didn't even write that joke. Kate just told me about it. She was like, boss, Paddy, fucking straight over there. But yeah, no, being Northern Irish, as Paddy can attest to, there's a few things, especially when you become a dad, there's a few things that sort of throw you. It's like I would teach my kids how to read. I would then go to pick them up from school, and then the teacher would stop me and go, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm like, why? He says, because we're trying to get how now, brown cow, and that's not how you fuckers talk. She wasn't as blunt as that. She wasn't as blunt as that. That was for comic effect. So on my last shift, so the boss is in here, there you are. He doesn't like the fact that I keep mentioning I used to be the FDO of the Prince of Wales, but I did. It's a fact. It happened in history. I was there. I did what I commonly refer to as the most pointless job on board, which if you don't know what that is, it's this. £3.2 million of aircraft carrier, £100 million jet, and a pilot, and my job is to go, you mate, you're going fucking that way. Fucking pointless. When I joined, they were like, you get a little flag. I'm like, I fucking don't. You get rid of that shit. Unfucking-legal. Still can't believe that's a thing. It's 2024. Come on. But yeah, so, but when I was on the ship, and most of you will know who this individual is, and his name is Leathers. For those who don't know, he's the current Wings, and yes, he's aware that I talk shit about him when I'm on stage. But at the end of the first conversation that I had, my first day, we get to the end of the conversation, and he's like, Irish is a weird name for a person to have. And I'm looking at him thinking, do you think that's my real name? Like, I have to salute you. I have to call this guy sir. And the weirdest thing was, and the reason I'm wearing this t-shirt, so you'll be able to see on the front of it says, I don't care that you're third in charge. I'll reveal what the back of it says in a minute. But he went off to a meeting with the Hods. We were alongside in Rota. He went off for a meeting with the Hods and the captain, and he thought he would regale this story. And this story was as simple as this, because he asked me the question, I'm a bit mischievous and thought I'm fine. So I said, well, what happened was, when my mum was 8 months pregnant, we got the Irish baby name book and it sat at the coffee table. And the Irish people like to hear on a Saturday night, my mum put her foot down and went, no, we're naming the baby. And my dad stood up, looked at the book, and he went, Irish baby name. Done. So I told him that as a joke. He was off to his pods meeting them at Glass of Wine because we're alongside and wrote it, and he tells that story as a funny one to Captain Hewitt. Captain Hewitt's response, having just passed him the bottle of champagne, was to lean across the table, drag it back, look at Leathers and say, I met him yesterday, his name is Michael, you can't be this fucking naive. So he comes down to the wardroom, fucking furious. I was like, he figured us out real quick. But he was about to say some stuff, he was about to, but unfortunately this thing happened. He was looking angry, but he was in conversation. I don't know if you know Helen Jones, she was Commander Emmy on there, one of the fantastically poshest people I've ever met in my life. Leather said something, and JP had just joined his F, he'd just taken over from Paddy, and I watched a man drink some tea and have it explode out of his fucking mouth. Because he doesn't know who these people are. He knows Leathers, but he doesn't know who anyone else is. And as Helen looks round to him and goes, I don't care if you're third in charge, you're still a massive cunt. And I thought that was so funny, I genuinely had this made into a t-shirt. So when the shop broke, Helen was on a bit of a downer. Leathers and I had these t-shirts and then presented her hers. It looked like we were about to do some sort of weird striptease in the wardroom because we got and took our jackets off. And like, no, we've just got you a t-shirt, this is as far as this is going, because no one wants to see this, including the woman I'm married to, as it turns out.
It's true.
But no, finally Leathers gets me on my own, and he says, karma is coming for you, my friend. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy on? I don't believe in karma, this is fine. We came back alongside a couple of weeks later, and as we're walking down the gangway, he's like, within 24 hours, it'll have hit you. I was like, yes sir, no problem sir, fucking have a good night sir. And it did, it came for me in the birth of my 10-year-old daughter, right? So to put this kid in perspective, when she was 5 years old, I get invited to the school for the PTA type of thing. And I go in, and they go, oh, that's Mr. McMahon, Saoirse's dad. And yep, T3's dad, just down there on the left. And I'm like, T3? Like, and she looked really embarrassed. Turns out my daughter has a nickname. Turns out the reason she has this nickname T3 is she was asked to do a thing to the audience. And she's 5. The audience is also 5. So my very English daughter pretended to be her very drunken dad. Which is why you shouldn't say shit to kids when you've had a beer on Saturday night. Because what she said was, your ma's your dad. Your dad's your dog. Your dog's fucking dead. So I was like, T3, teeny, tiny terrorist. So she's 10 now, 10 years old, and she wanted to download the TikTok. I didn't want to give her the TikTok. My wife and I disagreed. My wife went to the shop and I thought, fuck it, give her the TikTok. So I downloaded the TikTok, and she came up to me 5 minutes in, and she went, Dad, use the box, shows her 3 moves. So I showed her a few moves. Bang, bang, bang. She's like, oh God, thanks Dad. High five. Goes to high five me, she slips the high five, punches me straight in the balls. I worked from home, I was on my chair, I was relaxed, cross-legged, it was like a ball sandwich, it was one end to the other end of the chair. And I don't know what it is about biology in men, but your balls are directly connected to your fucking lungs because you stop being able to breathe. I was straight out of the chair, I was in the fetal position, she was on the door laughing her fucking ass off. And I'm like, oh my God, so I just crawled to the bathroom. And when you get there, lads, you know, you want them touching nothing. You sit weird, you're like this, just dangling in the breeze. I don't know why I looked at you when you said that. Just dangling in the breeze, right? And so every now and again, you're like, are they still there? So you're like, they're still there, we're still good. Is this weird yet? I'm fucking freaking out. 20 minutes later, I hear my wife come back. And I'm like, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. And as I'm walking down the passageway to the living room, corridor to the living room, fucking Navy. All I hear is, hey Mum, high five. And I tried to run. It was too soon. I was giving it one of them, and I get that's when I found that shit hurts women too. She got it right in the mummy-daddy button. And it turns out the mummy-daddy button also connected to the lungs. Because my wife's in the fetal position, like, what the fuck is happening as my daughter runs past me laughing again? It turns out, punching an old man in the balls and punching a woman in the fanny, not the same thing. Audible crack of the wrist. So we're in Gosport War Memorial. I have 4 nurses looking at me, going, "So, Mr. McMahon, how did your daughter hurt her wrist?" And the whole way down I practiced. She fell off her bike, she fell off her bike. Out loud in that room I said, "She punched her mum in the fanny." Like, you're laughing. They didn't laugh. Like, I had PTSD from the last time this happened to me, which when this fucking kid was born. Because baby number 3, 1 and 2, difficult. Baby number 3, bit like a slip and slide by this point. I'm pretty sure the baby came out going, "Wee," you know what I mean? So I took it a little bit less serious. We were only in there an hour and a half, so I was a bit more jokey than the previous 2. So I made a joke. I thought it was about the woman stopped in bed, 4 women staring at me. "She has just had a fucking baby. What have you done?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but if you had a nice meal at a restaurant, you wouldn't thank the oven." They stared at me. There was a bit of tearing, there was a bit of stitching going on, so there was another nurse. I'd forgotten all about her. There's a privacy blanket across my wife's knees, and this head just pops up. And she looks at my wife and goes, "When I'm finished doing these lips, do you want me to do this?" So I just sat down. So that's where I am. So back in the room, back in Gosport War Memorial. My wife's feeling a little bit uncomfortable in the downstairs region. She's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go in with Saoirse, I'm gonna get stuff looked at." And she comes back out and she goes, "Got bad news for you. No sex for 3 months." Now we're all sailors, we've not had sex for 3 months before. But I, once again, was fucking furious. I had been banging that fanny for 15 years, not so much as a fucking bruise. You know, I've gone at that thing like an angry woodpecker. Nothing. That was the day I found out I had less punching power than a 10-year-old girl. I'll leave you with this. So having a strong accent, as many people in the room do, Jordy, Jeff does, and many of us do, Paddy, you know, it is what it is. If you have a strong accent and you're in a room full of people like this, it tends to soften. It tends to come down so we can all understand each other. We all understand the journey that took us on. What I've not thought about is that shit the other way around. So I'm in Northern Ireland, I go over to see my brother. And as I step through the door, one of my officer friends gives me a call. So I'm talking away on the phone, and I soften my voice. I say, you know, he's still from a council estate, still lives in a council estate. And I can see him standing up and walking toward me, and I can feel the fucking anger. So as I hang up, I said something like, "It's a bit of a nefarious thing to do, we'll chat about it on Monday." You know, a bit esoteric, but you know, we'll get there. Hang up the phone, and I turn around, and he's looking at me, fucking furious. And he was like, "When did I get a posh prick for a brother?" I was fucking devastated. Like, I'm standing in the council estate I grew up in, absolutely devastated. So I looked to my wife and go, "Tell him he's not a posh prick. Tell him I'm not a posh prick." And she goes, "Ask him what he had for breakfast." Like, whose side is she on? It's probably the funny story, actually. She's throwing me under the bus. And I was like, "Well, I had a poached egg, some squashed avocado, some shavings of smoked salmon." And he just looked at me and he went, "What a cunt," and I walked out of the room. My dad was there, he didn't say anything, he just stood up and fucking followed him. I sat down on the sofa and I was like, fucking devastated. I was like, I'm not a posh cunt, I'm not a posh cunt. I looked down and all I could see were these fucking shoes.
really good. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our first